Hello folks, Wager Detective coming at you November 16th, 2025, about 9 o'clock in the morning. We got NFL action coming up in a half hour, and I'm going to break down this game as quick as possible for you to have somewhat of a betting edge when you go to the window, okay? As we look at this game, we look at the Redskins. They're 3-7 this year. What a far cry from where they were last year. Played in the playoffs, beat the Lions. They were absolutely a team that was on the rise, and now this year we look at them and we look at what they've done and what they're doing, and they are on a slide right now. They've lost 5 games in a row, and but if you look at who they've played the last 3 weeks, you played the Kansas City Chiefs, you played the Seattle Seahawks, you played the Detroit Lions, so they have played a few tough teams there in the last few weeks. So all teams that are going to make the playoffs, and not really. I mean, if you look at their percentage on the passing, they're passing the ball. Completion rate is above 70% last 3 weeks. Just not getting it done necessarily when getting into the end zone there. They have been sacked 8 times in the last 3 weeks, 26 times on the year. So the offensive line is not holding up. And if we look at what they do on the year, they got 14 passing touchdowns, and they have 12 rushing touchdowns. So they're a pretty well-balanced attack on what they like to do, and they are coached by Dan Quinn, who, in my opinion, is a pretty decent coach. I think this is no reflection necessarily on him. Injuries, no Jaden McDaniels. They have 12 turnovers on the year, split between 6 fumble losses and 6 interceptions. Okay? Now, if we look at what they've done, they only got 3 wins on the year. They beat the Chargers pretty handily out there in L.A. They beat the Raiders, and they beat the Giants. I think all 3 of those teams are better than the Miami Dolphins, in my opinion. And now they're going overseas, okay? We look at what teams have done against them. Teams have passed for 22 passing touchdowns. That's going to be a problem here today. But they've only given up 9 rushing touchdowns on the year. They've given up 4 in the last couple weeks. They got 22 sacks on the year on defense for the Commanders, and they've given up, I mean, they're bleeding points from the teams passing on. They've given up 10 passing touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. Okay, so that's something they're going to have to clean up. We want to take a look at what their stats look like. I mean, they're not getting a lot of turnovers. They're 30th in the NFL on defense, only committing 6 turnovers. They're 3rd on defense in giving up passing yards. That's going to be a problem against a team like Miami. If we look at what they do, they've given up 22 touchdown passes. That's 28th worst in the NFL. See where else they're not doing or where they're doing good at. Rushing, that is their bright spot. They're averaging 4.9 yards an attempt for 6th best in the NFL, and they are 9th in the NFL in scoring touchdowns on the ground with 12. But passing-wise, again, 28th in giving up touchdowns. They've given up 22 through the air, but they are good against the run. If we look at where they are, again, 29th in turnover percentage for their defense. They're not getting many turnovers, and they are 3rd best in the NFL in allowing teams to score 49% of the time. But if you look at that average drive for teams, 2.69 points per play, and they're letting teams average drive, they're giving up 38.7 yards per drive. That could be a problem here. It could be a problem. It could they turn it around in a short week overseas? We will see. 3rd down conversions, they're 19th in the NFL, and their defense is 25th in the NFL in giving up 3rd down conversions. They're minus about 5% there between converting and getting converted on there. We look at what they do, 4th down conversions, middle of the pack offense and defense. And we look at their red zone percentage, though. Look at this. 2nd in the NFL in the red zones, converting 20 of 25 attempts, red zone attempts. But on the opposite side, they're 25th in the NFL in giving up the red zone touchdown. So right there off the bat, you're going to probably think that this game's probably going to be an over in this game. So if I'm looking at that, I'm kind of keeping an eye on that and what's going on. Now, if we take a look at the Dolphins, okay, the Dolphins that came off that fantastic win last week against Buffalo at home. They are 3-7 on the year. Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat. They got talent over there. I mean, let's face it. You got Waller, you got Waddle, you got Waller, Waddle, and Arcane there as your running back. No Tyreek Hill hurts them, but defensively they've been getting absolutely hurt. If we look at their wins here, they beat the Jets, they beat Atlanta, and they beat Buffalo. Big win last week. But Tyvola only completing 68.1% of his passes. Not bad, not great. And let's look at what they do. They got 17 passing touchdowns on the year. And on the ground, they only got 6 rushing touchdowns. So Washington's going to be able to control them on the ground. The question becomes, can that Washington defense hold up against this Miami offense that has been pretty prolific? I mean, you look what they do. They got 6 passing touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, so that's about an average of 2 a game. But in the last 4 weeks, they've had a couple games where they haven't gotten any passing touchdowns. And on the ground, they only got 2 rushing touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. So Miami's going to be looking to stay out of third down and long situations. And see what but look at this. Miami has 17 turnovers on the year, and 13 of those are interceptions. So right there, we know Washington's only got 12 turnovers on the year. So Washington is +5 in the turnover category in this game. What do teams do against Miami? Teams have passed on them for 17 touchdown passes, and they rushed on them for 10. Okay? So... And they've only gotten teams to turn over the ball 10 times. So just like Washington, they're not good defensively at creating turnovers, but we do know Washington turns over the ball a lot less. Tyvola likes to throw interceptions. He's coming off that great week. Can he duplicate it again? If we look at the stats for this team, we want to take a look and see what they do. I mean, look at them. Turnovers. They're 30th in the NFL offensively with turnovers on the year. If we look at what they do offensively, yards, they're 25th in the NFL in passing in total yards. And if we look, where else do they stand out at? Rushing. They're 24th in the NFL in touchdowns, and they're 18th in giving up touchdowns. They've given up 10 on the ground, as we said. What else do we got here? Okay, average time of possession on drives. The Dolphins are 30th in the NFL. Teams are holding the ball for about 3 minutes per drive when they get the ball. And Miami's 27th in the NFL and giving up points per drive with 2.45. So you look at that, you start to build the case here. You look at Miami. They're only 18th in the NFL in converting third downs, and they're 23rd in the NFL in letting teams convert third downs on them. And look at this, fourth down. If it gets in a tight spot for Miami on defense, they've given up 12 of 16 attempts on fourth down for 29th worst in the NFL. They're middle of the pack in red zone, 16 of 27 attempts. So obviously, Washington's more adept at getting in on the red zone. They're 20 of 25 for Washington, as we talked about earlier. So Washington's better in the red zone, but Miami is allowed teams in the red zone 37 times, only giving up 20 touchdowns. They have played a weaker schedule slightly than what Washington has played. And if we look at who they played in the last 3 weeks, I got to give them credit on that Buffalo game, but they lost to the Ravens. They beat the Falcons. It's like they're winning and losing. And when they lose, they're not getting beat bad. They did get crushed by the Colts. They didn't get crushed by New England, but they lost that game. But turnovers are absolutely a problem for them. And if you look, you beat the Jets by 6. You lose to Carolina by 3. You lose to the Chargers by 2, who Washington did beat out in LA. and you lost to them at home. And if I'm looking at this game, look at Taivola. Leads the NFL. Look at that bold lettering. That means you're leading the NFL or conference or whatever it is. 13 interceptions, leads the NFL there. Not very good. Who's getting it done for them? Arcane on the ground's got 5, and he's pretty much, that's it. I mean, Ollie Gordon's got a touchdown, but Arcane is their main back. And then if we look at what's going on in the air there, Arcane's got 4 receiving touchdowns. Waddle's got 5. Malik Washington's got 2. Darren Waller's got 4. So they can definitely make things happen passing the ball, but we know that Washington is very stingy on the against the run. If we look at their kicking game, Riley Patterson, 14 for 16 on the year, 88%. He's 22 for 23 on extra points. And then punting the ball, Jake Bailey, averaging 45 yards a punt. And he's punted the ball 32 times on the year, and he's gotten inside the 20 44% of the time. So very interesting there. This is a neutral site game. The over-under is 1-6 in the last 7 meetings between these teams for the line that's set. I think the Bills, I mean, if you look at this line and the way and the schedule they've played and everything abound, I only think Miami's a favorite in this game, which in my opinion, this is more like a pick'em game. I don't know why Miami, but I could tell you why Miami is favored this week. It's because what they did last week against the Buffalo Bills. But we see what they do after they win a game or they beat a team, they come back and they get crushed the next week. I think Washington, in my opinion, is the better team. They're getting healthy. I think that, for all things considered, I think Dan Quinn is a better coach than McDaniels. I think Taivola is too turnover prone. I think Washington can get pressure on Taivola. And if I'm looking at this, I want to take a look real quick. I want to see a couple more things here as far as stats here. Let's take a look at this team's defense, what they do. All right, where are we at here? Defensively, again, they only got 2 interceptions on the year. That could, eventually things are going to start to change. You can't look at a stat and then this much in the season and say it's going to continue to be that way. You got to think about the future, the regression to the mean. I think this is a perfect spot for them to start getting some turnovers. They have 25 passes deflected, 8 forced fumbles, 16 fumble recoveries, guys. That's fantastic. And sacks. They got 20 sacks on the year, so they can get pressure. And tackles for loss, they got 43, and they got 43 quarterback hits in 10 games. So they're touching the quarterback about 4.3 times per game over the 10 games that they played. They played a tougher schedule. If I'm looking at this game, I'm going to take a look. Let's take one last look at... Oh, that was Miami's defense. So Miami's decent, right? Let's see what... that was Miami. All those stats I just gave. Getting to the quarterback about 4.3 times a game. And they only got 2 interceptions. Miami does. And, if you look at them, it's not a team. You got Jordan Brooks. He leads the NFL in tackles, solo tackles and combined tackles. He's the bright spot for them. And if you look at sacks, they no longer have Jalen Phillips, who went to the Eagles, so they're not going to really, who's going to replace him to get to the quarterback? So I look at it, you only got 20 sacks on the year and only 2 interceptions. Let's take a look at Washington, as I want to keep this thing nice and brisk for the viewers here. Washington, let's take a look here, see what they do defensively. Oh, offensively, Washington. They do, Krosky Merritt's got 4 touchdowns on the ground. Chris Rodriguez has got 3, contributing to the 12. Krosky Merritt, number 1 in the NFL in success rate, 57.1%. And in the air, receiving, Deebo Samuels, Zach Ertz, Luke McCaffrey. They can move the ball, guys. So they're tough there. Kicking for Washington, Matt Gay. This guy's not having the best year. 11 for 15 on field goals, 73%. He is good on the extra points, 21 for 21. Tress Way, 33 punts, an average of 45.3. He's getting the ball inside the 20, 51.5% of the way. I think Washington has the advantage there as far as the kicker and even the field goal kicker. I mean, it's pretty even there. And then if we look at defense, Washington, 5 interceptions. So they're +3 in the interceptions defensively than Miami. Miami's only got 2 interceptions for the year. They got 5, and Ty Vola throws a lot of interceptions, as we said, okay? And if we look at forced fumbles, they got 7. They got 5 fumble recoveries. They got 22 sacks on the year, 43 tackles for loss, and 55 quarterback hits, which is 5.5. So they're getting to the quarterback a little bit more than that 43, which is 4.3 for Miami through the 10 games. So listen, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to say that Washington wins the game, and I'm going to take the 2.5 points. That's my call here. Over, under. It could go either way, but I think there's value here, and I only think that Miami is favored in this game, in a neutral site game, because what they did to Buffalo last week. So that's going to be the call here. Wager Detective going and calling and predicting that the Commanders cover the 2.5. Very well could win the game outright this week against the Miami Dolphins. Game's coming up in 15 minutes, and I hope to see you guys in the winner's circle. This is Wager Detective signing off.